All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video review for the first episode, the premiere episode for Netflix's The Witcher. Alright, so a good number of people wanted to see me do a review for Netflix's The Witcher. If you guys are not familiar with what this series is, it's a new series that just hit Netflix last week, which was December 20th. So just before Christmas here, and it's getting a lot of hype. It's one of probably the biggest new Netflix release series that we've had for a while. And I think a lot of people right off the bat online have kind of discussed of it as a possible replacement for Game of Thrones because all of the Game of Thrones fans have nowhere to go. They're all in dire need, I suppose, of some other kind of series to fill that void, and The Witcher is not a bad replacement. It's a little bit like Game of Thrones, but it's not that much like Game of Thrones. There's some stark differences here between the two, and in terms of the series. Of course, it is based on they have a video game series. If you guys have ever seen, I have never played the video game series myself. All I can say is that I fixed some people's computers who have the game, and it looks cool. And I have seen some of the in-game graphics and stuff like that for the Witcher series, because it's not just one game, but it's a whole series of games. And it does have a pretty loyal fan base for the games, and now, of course, the TV series, which likely, or Netflix series, I suppose, which will likely make it just even more popular because it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I watched it through, and right away I want to watch the second episode, which is always a good sign. After you watch the first episode, you're like, oh man, this is cool. Want to watch the second one pretty much right away. Some things about it right away is that it does have those fantastical elements in it almost right away. You have the magic, you have some monsters which are cool. You get to see this giant Kiki Mora, which is what Geralt is fighting with, pretty much right as the series gets going. So that's what they use to kind of catch your attention in the premiere episode. Is this giant bog spider thing with these legs and stuff. This is a freaky thing. And of course, as Geralt is our main lead character, we have Henry Cavill, who of course is Superman, which is fun, really cool. If you guys have seen any of the DC movies and everything, and he's really good. I really like him in this role because it's quite a bit different from that of Superman. I mean, Superman is probably the most iconic character an actor probably could ever play. It's just the history and everything behind it, but it's cool to see him in a different role. I mean, obviously he looks a lot different. He's got kind of the white hair and the eyes that turn orange, which is pretty cool for him. And he still looks badass as per usual, and he's very stoic. So there are some similarities between Geralt and Superman, I suppose. It's just some, but in terms of complexion, he doesn't look anything like the other role. And so for me in this first episode, at least some of the things that stuck out, a lot to me is the action is really cool. When you see some of the different fights, specifically the sword fights, they're really shot well. They look amazing. They're very cool. When you have, spoiler warning, him against Renfrey, it's a pretty cool sword fight. It's one of the best sword fights I think I've seen in quite a while. So you have a couple different kind of storylines happening in this premiere episode. And of course, I know a lot of you guys are probably way further ahead. Maybe some of you have seen the whole season already. It looks like there's 8 episodes for the first season, and it's probably a pretty quick watch because it does have pretty fast pacing in the show too. It's not like when Game of Thrones first started off. The pacing was really I don't want to say slower pace, but it was really a dramatic kind of tone or a dramatic kind of set pace for it. This series, to me at least, doesn't have that. If you watch the first episode through, it's got the monsters, it's got the action, it's got the sword fights, and then we even have Ciri, which is another timeline of another character that's happening here, where you have a whole castle kind of being stormed, and you have some pretty epic, I want to say like CG battles, because they're pretty cool for me. I mean, I can't help but look at it and think like, okay, that's CG, right? It's gonna be right based on what it is, but it still looks pretty cool. Some of the kills are brutal, some of the sword fights brutal, like people getting stabbed stabbed and people getting slashed and everything, and just undone. Just some pretty fire everywhere. It's a pretty big action sequences for a very first episode to kind of bring some of these bigger things in there right away and really let the person know. So the pacing is pretty fast, and it's pretty. It's got those the magic and different creatures and the big battles and everything right away. They kind of let you know in the first episode, probably just to catch your attention, get you watching. And I feel like for the most part, it pretty much works. For at least for the first episode. Yeah. If anything, it might be a little bit too kind of fast paced or a little bit too kind of like a lot of things happening very quick, and you could kind of maybe lose a few people. But I guess if you have to question in today's day and age of streaming whether or not you're going to go for like a really fast-paced type of deal, or you're going to go kind of slower for a premiere, you're going to want to go with that really fast-paced thing to get that viewer, to lock them in, to get their attention and have them watch kind of the rest of the episodes of the season. And the premiere does that. So some of the other characters that we have in it aside from Gerald. So I like Gerald a lot. I think he's a very let's say relatable, because he's sort of he's sort of like half like as a Witcher, he's sort of, what are they, like a mutant or halfway between sort of a human and a monster themselves, which is pretty cool. But to see him sword fighting is really, really good. Renfrey I also thought was a pretty decent character in the first one, and like I said, I really liked the sword fight with her, and I thought she was pretty good. So you have basically Geralt going around as sort of a mercenary for hire, or a Witcher. So people will pay him to do certain jobs, kill monsters or do whatever. So we get him, and he kind of comes in, and he runs into Renfrey, which is a human female, but then it's kind of revealed later on that she has the ability to kind of influence others, bend them to her will, and kind of mastermind them, get them to do what she wants to do. So she does have some abilities there that he wasn't familiar with at the beginning when they're in the woods there, and they kind of have sex. So at least that's what we're to believe. Now you have Stregobor as well, who is a wizard, I suppose, or a magician type of character, this kind of thing. And again, that's something that's very different from this series to something like a Game of Thrones, is that they bring in kind of these characters that have these abilities right away. It's right at the forefront right away. So it's pretty cool. It's probably actually more similar, as I compared it to in a recent Q&A video, to Berserk. If you guys have ever seen the anime Berserk, the Black Swordsman, he travels around, he gets hired by different people, and Berserk's incredible. If you guys have never seen it, you like anime, you gotta check out Berserk. I hope one day they'll do like a live action kind of version of Berserk for one of these streaming networks or something. But until then, this is about as close as anything we've had like that, at least in terms of feel. So he gets kind of he sort of is approached by Stregobor, or at least he's offered to kill. So he's kind of offered by both sides. He's offered by the magician to kill Renfrey, this female who has the ability to influence others and kind of have her little band of beta orbiting males that kind of come around her and do what she wants. So you have Stregobor on one side, the magician, and then you have Renfrey on the other, and they want to basically kill each other. Renfrey's coming after Stregobor, the magician, for some of the stuff that he did to her. I guess she was a princess, so he wants to hire Geralt to do that, and Geralt refuses because she's not just some random monster, she's actually a human. And then vice versa, the same thing comes back where Renfrey wants to kill Stregobor, and so you get into this type of situation where it's a back and forth, and he just wants to stay impartial. He doesn't want to get involved. And then surprisingly afterwards, you have Renfrey, who basically tries to push him to do it and use her men and that kind of thing to force him to get Stregobor, tell her where he is, set it up so that she can get him or kill him, himself, get Geralt to kill him. And so he refuses, just not wanting to take sides, not wanting to get involved from the looks of things. And so then you get kind of a pretty epic sword fight and that kind of thing going on, and some deaths pretty much right away in the very first episode, for her at least, and for her men that follow her. And then, of course, you have Stregobor kind of comes at the end and kind of takes her body for an autopsy because of these abilities that she has that I guess as a normal human she probably shouldn't. So he wants to kind of check out and find out why that is. And Geralt has killed a whole bunch of her men around, so the people of the town kind of turn against him and start pelting him with rocks, and so he's kind of forced to leave. So that's part of the storyline for the first episode. Then the other part follows Ciri, which is the battle and everything that happens at her castle. So she's the princess of Sintra. And so you have pretty much the fall of that and her kind of just escaping there near the end and possibly developing some of her own kind of shrieking type of abilities herself. Yeah, something like that. So what did I think of the first episode? And like I said, I've never played the games. I'm not an expert on The Witcher. I'm just a casual viewer, wanted to check it out because of the hype that's in and around it, and being a fan of Henry Cavill. And again, I do think there is a void for this kind of type of series after some of that Game of Thrones ended, and you don't really have anything else to go to. And I think that's a lot of why, but also because it's Netflix and it's heavily promoted and everything, so it's right there. So score for the first episode, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. I thought it was really good. I thought some of the graphics were good and everything. It's very fast paced. It's hard to keep up with some of the characters though, and I know it's the first episode, so you're just getting introduced to some of them. But like I said, for some of the names here, like Renfrey, introduced, killed off in the first episode and that. But I did think it was a good, compelling start to the series. I did think that the stuff with Ciri, it didn't always look the best in terms of the castle and everything and the battle and all that. You just look at it and you say like, okay, yeah, CG dump everywhere, whatever. So I know that's kind of the norm nowadays. So it's not that big of a deal. People are used to it. But I just thought that stuff was okay. But I did like the monster at the beginning that he's fighting and all of and Renfrey and that whole thing. It was pretty cool too. So I'm intrigued by the series. I do want to watch the rest of the season through. If I finish the first season and I watch all 8 episodes, I'll do a review for the whole first season for you guys. The purpose of this video is just to kind of give you guys my thoughts on the first episode as a premiere. And of course, some of you may already watched all the way through. Some of you may not. But for those of you who have not checked it out, I'd say it's probably worth a watch. It's probably worth checking out if you're into this kind of genre. If you like fantasy kind of genre, especially if you're into video games and these kind of games where you like RPGs and things like that. You travel around and do this kind of thing. And especially if you play the Witcher game, and if you liked it, then you probably want to watch the series. So I liked it. I thought it was pretty good, and I am looking forward. I'll probably watch the rest of the first season. If I like it a lot, maybe I'll do another review for it with you guys, and we'll kind of go over that. But I was pretty impressed by the first episode. I thought it was fun. I thought it did look good for the most part. Like the visuals were good for the most part of it. The only thing like that battle was kind of like, this is okay, I guess. But it's a fun series, and it does have that fast pacing, and it's promising, I think, and I would not be surprised if it's going to get a second season. I don't know if it's been renewed already or not. I don't think so yet, but I haven't heard anything if it is. But it looks good to start. It's off to a good start, at least for the first couple episodes for me, watching the second one after that. And I thought the second one was very similar to this one in terms of how I felt about it. It's still engaging, intriguing, and I do enjoy it. Anyway, that's it for this review, guys. If you like it, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite. If you've already seen The Witcher, leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought about it. If you thought it was good, if you liked it or you didn't, or you felt like it was a bit too fast-paced and choppy and just didn't quite fit right, or maybe a little bit too unbelievable because of the fantasy elements of it being a bit too prominent right at the start. Let me know what you think, how you feel about it. That's it for this one. See you guys again soon for another. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace later, guys. See you soon.